Welcome to Meaningful Mondays. For 5, 10 years now, every June I facilitate a youth camp in Houston, a youth camp in DC in July, and a youth camp in Boston in August. So June, July, August, Houston, DC, Boston. This year's youth camp theme in Boston is the art of being quiet. Usually high schoolers are told, be quiet, but we're teaching them the art of being quiet for this to be their choice. I've been sharing with them that the one who never becomes noisy is Achyuta. Achyuta means the one who never falls, the one who never becomes noisy. That is Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna's message to our youth, to us, is Tattvamasi. Infinity you are. Your nature is not noise. Your nature is silence. In this camp, we're focusing on the first portion of Tattvamasi, which is on Tvam. In the Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters are on Tvam, or you. Getting to know you in a more authentic and deep way. And specifically, we're on chapter 6, which is about dhyana. Dhyana means to keep in mind. It means to engage. When we are engaged in whatever we're doing, we do become quieter. We feel that silence. In chapter 6, we're using verses 9 to 19. Everyone's feeling this magnification. Shri Krishna, Tattvamasi, Tvam, Dhyana, verses 9 to 19. In verse 9, Shri Krishna lists 9 types of people that we will interact with. And I had shared with all of our high school students that the hardest part of living, whether they acknowledge this or not, is people. And for them, it's probably their family members, because they don't have as many relationships as a typical adult would. As we navigated these 9 types of relationships, the hardest to get along with, the hardest to be quiet, according to Sri Krishna, is a papi. Share with me in the chat how you would define papi. And now you're going to write sinner. Then I'm going to ask you, what does it mean to be a sinner? And I'm pointing out to you that we know a lot about technicalities, we know a lot about definitions, but what does it mean practically? So I'd shared with these students, a papi is one who is complacent. A complacent person doesn't change. It is most difficult to be with someone who doesn't change, one who doesn't adapt. Commonly, we feel such people are stubborn, are selfish. I'm sharing this with all of us because we are working hard and smart not to be papis. Now, you're already not a sinner, obviously, but maybe you're complacent with a family member, with a profession, whatever it may be. And coming back to how special the beginning portion of this month is, on Tuesday, August 3rd, when we had watched Pujaswami Chinmayananda teach us about the illusion of doership, did any of you notice there was a special name assigned to him at the end of this video? It was Bandha Mochakaya, the one who frees us from feeling limited. And I had shared that yesterday, today, Pujaswami Chinmayananda's body was buried. His body is buried, but he has helped us, is helping us to continue to feel less limited. We are changing our vasanas, whether we know it or not. And that is the greatest gift that anyone can give another. We have received this gift and are receiving this gift. So please, don't you dare be complacent. Shuka told me one day that Vyasa called him the D word. And I was like, what word is that, Shuka? And I was expecting, dumb or dummy. He said dare. So don't you dare be complacent. I'd given you a model yesterday about the most immature person feels there is only matter. This is real, I'm real, there's nothing more. The more reflective person feels there is matter, but inside of this matter there is spirit. That this body is just organic material, but I know this body, so there has to be sentiency, consciousness. The most reflective person feels there is only spirit. As they touch this wall, as they brush their teeth, they're holding on to the divinity, not the A, B, and C. In the language of Bhagavad Gita, the words are Prakriti and Purusha. When Sri Krishna shares, there is only Prakriti, Prakriti playing with Prakriti, this is our orientation, but he's encouraging us to think, how do you know that Prakriti is playing with Prakriti? So then he goes on to share that in Prakriti, there's Purusha. If I asked all of you, where does God live? You're going to say inside of you. You think he only lives inside of you. Your chest cavity is containing divinity or Purusha. And as you reflect on this more, any facet of Purusha, that means all is Purusha, that there is no Prakriti. In verse 7, Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manashashtani Indriyani Prakristani Karshati. Shri Krishna is sharing what the ego's genesis is. What the ego's genesis is, how the ego came to be born. When spirit has entered matter and the spirit is forgotten, then one becomes the ego or jiva. In verse 8, Shariram yadavapnoti yachapyakrut kramatishvaraha grihitvaitani samyati vayurgandhani vashayat. Avapnoti. This verse focuses on when the ego does not express as a body. There is ego, but it's not expressing as a body. Avapnoti, it has come. Utkramati, it is gone. Iva, avashaya, like the fragrance of a flower. The birth of the ego, when the ego does not express as a body. Now in verse 9. Shrotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam granam eva cha adishthaya manaschayam Vishayan upasevate. Joy. Let me give you the high level analysis of this, then we'll go into the quarters. In this verse, Sri Krishna is sharing when the ego expresses through the body. Birth of ego, ego without body, ego with body. That's what's shared in this verse. The implication of this orientation is the ego was never born. If the ego was never born, what also is not born? The body. Which is Swami Chinmayananda writes. The pure light of consciousness never illumines any object, because in the pure light of the infinite, there are no objects at all to illumine. Unless one is highly balanced and focused and reflective, practicing this will be challenging. So if you find this challenging, the message is not to despair, but rather be hopeful, work on being balanced, focused, reflective. You cannot know awareness. What will you know awareness with? Your brain? Your mind? You can only be awareness. And so all of our sadhanas, I'm sitting in a puja room right now. All of our disciplines, the sadhana is for smarana. To remember you are awareness. Please reflect, you can't know awareness, you can only be awareness. So remember that you are awareness. The end is awareness. The means is learning that you are awareness. In the last verse, I had shared about how this gross body dies, but the subtle body and causal body does not. So does that mean the subtle body and causal body will never die? It will die when you come to be awareness. How did you get to be awareness? Because you learned, experience by experience, that you are not the gross body, subtle body, causal body. This is all SQ. Not even emotional intelligence, correct? That was more chapter 14. Now we're in SQ. Shrotram, point to me. Your Shrotra. Ears. Chakshuhu, eyes. Sparshanam, your skin. Rasanam, that is your taste. And Granam, that is your smell. In this verse, Sri Krishna is sharing how the ego expresses through the body through these 5 sense organs. In order of most powerful to least powerful, it is hearing, then touching, then seeing, then tasting, then smelling. How did I come up with this framework? I will share more tomorrow. A couple of reflections before we complete this verse for now. Vishayan upasevate. These sense organs, they are served or they're directed towards Vishayan, which means sense objects. Now think, the sense objects depend on the sense organs. What did the sense organs depend on? The mind. The 6th was the mind. Here Shri Krishna shares again, Adhishtaya Manaschayam. The sense organs depend on the mind. The mind depends on the ego. Verses 7, 8, 9, it's about the ego and its expression. The ego depends on awareness, spirit, Purusha. What does Purusha depend on? Nothing. So what should our relationship be with the ego, mind, sense organ, sense objects? Not one of dependence, but rather interdependence. My name is Vivek. When I go through security and they ask me, what's your name? I'm not going to say Adhishtaya. You and I, what security? What Canada, America? Right? I'm going to say, this is my name because I'm interdependent on this name. And one more reflection. Vishayan does mean sense objects. And usually we have a very poor description of sense objects. Doing drugs, drinking alcohol, stuff like that. But in terms of sense objects, our relationship with sense objects can be one of sattva, where you engage in sense objects that make you quieter. How will you know if you're doing this? When you're entertaining a sense object and you're clear that this is enough. If you ate a bowl of salad, are you going to overeat on salad? If you ate a bowl of ice cream, are you going to overeat on ice cream? It's how much will you overeat on ice cream? It's not if, it's when. But you see my point. With salad, you have this sense of enough. The word is alam. Think lots about this. I know I've shared a lot today. I will review more tomorrow because there's an initiation going on. I have to hit hard with all of this content. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to look at our resources section on Chinmaya Niagara's website. How many of you did this? It's a really beautiful aspect of our website. And what's most beautiful is that Vivek didn't do it. When you go through those resources, it's all of you who put together traditions and life lessons and Prince Arjuna's questions. What I'm very fond of in our community is service opportunities. It's not one person serving and nobody else. It's everyone is getting a chance to serve. Which leads me to my application for today. On Sunday, October 1st, at 1 p.m., we are having our annual Seva training. Anyone who was a volunteer, is a volunteer, would like to be a volunteer, join us for this training. I will be in Cleveland live. You can gather people in your own community live, but this will be facilitated virtually. And the theme is, how do you work with the second generation? My parents are immigrants. I am not. Working with my parents and working with me is different. How do you do this effectively? Shanti, 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 Bijo.